The Power of One Decision. Chapter 8. Refining Decisions Through Feedback and Adaptation. No decision is ever final in its first form. The moment you make a choice and put it into motion, reality begins to respond. Outcomes arrive as clear messengers, carrying information that reveals whether your initial direction was perfectly aligned or whether small corrections are needed. The wise decision maker understands this truth deeply and treats every outcome, whether it brings quick success or unexpected difficulty, as valuable information rather than a final judgment on their worth or intelligence. Success confirms that the chosen path holds promise and encourages continued movement in that direction. A setback, on the other hand, does not signal failure. Instead, it quietly points out where adjustments can sharpen the approach and increase the likelihood of better results ahead. Both kinds of outcomes become genuine gifts when you remain open, curious, and willing to learn rather than defensive or discouraged. This perspective transforms how you experience decision-making. Instead of fearing wrong turns or clinging rigidly to an original plan out of pride, you begin to see every choice as the beginning of a conversation with reality. You act, observe what happens, and then respond intelligently. This ongoing dialogue prevents small missteps from growing into major problems and allows promising directions to accelerate with greater speed and precision. The process is simple, yet profound. After taking action on any decision, large or small, pause long enough to ask yourself 3 clear questions in sequence. First, ask what worked well in the decision and its execution. Second, ask what did not work or fell short of expectations. Third, ask what you will do differently next time based on what you have just learned. These 3 questions create a natural loop of decide, act, review, and adjust that turns even the most imperfect attempts into reliable stepping stones toward mastery. Consider how this loop operates in everyday situations. Suppose you decide to improve your physical vitality by committing to a morning movement practice. You choose a specific routine and follow through for 1 full week. At the end of that week, you sit quietly and review. You notice that the first 3 days felt energizing, and you completed every session with ease. That part worked well. The timing in the early morning suited your natural rhythm, and the chosen movements left you feeling alert rather than drained. However, you also observe that by days 5 through 7, fatigue from the previous night's activities made it harder to maintain full effort. That element did not work as effectively. Finally, you ask what you will do differently. Perhaps you will adjust the intensity on busier days, or move the session 30 minutes later to allow better rest. With those insights, you refine the original decision and begin the next week with a slightly improved version. The decision was not abandoned. It was strengthened through honest feedback. This same refining process applies equally to decisions involving leadership, relationships, creative projects, or personal growth. A leader who decides to hold more frequent team discussions may discover after the first few meetings that while participation increased, certain quieter voices still remained unheard. The review reveals that the format worked for generating energy, but did not fully succeed at creating equal space for every contributor. The adjustment might involve adding a structured round-robin sharing method, or beginning each meeting with a brief written reflection that everyone submits beforehand. Each cycle of review and adaptation makes the next decision more effective and demonstrates to the team that leadership values continuous improvement over perfection from the start. The beauty of this approach lies in its gentleness, combined with its power. Many people avoid honest review because they fear it will expose shortcomings and damage their confidence. In truth, the opposite occurs. When you treat outcomes as neutral information rather than personal verdicts, reviewing becomes an act of self-respect and strategic intelligence. You are not criticizing yourself. You are gathering data that only you can interpret and apply. This mindset frees you from the exhausting cycle of self-blame, or unrealistic expectations of instant flawless performance. Instead, you develop a calm, curious stance that welcomes both victories and corrections as essential parts of the journey. Flexibility in this context does not mean weakness or lack of commitment. Quite the opposite. It represents one of the highest forms of strength. A rigid decision that refuses to adapt when new information appears often collapses under the weight of changing circumstances. A flexible decision, refined through repeated cycles of feedback, bends without breaking and grows stronger with each iteration. Think of a tree that survives storms not because its trunk is perfectly straight and unyielding, but because it can sway and adjust to the wind while its roots remain firmly planted in core principles. Your decisions gain that same resilient quality when you remain willing to adjust their form while preserving their essential purpose. Practical application of this refining loop requires only a few consistent habits. After completing any significant action tied to a decision, set aside a short period, even 5 or 10 minutes, for reflection. You might do this at the end of the day, the end of the week, or immediately after a key event. During this time, write down or speak aloud your answers to the 3 core questions. Be specific rather than vague. Instead of noting only that the meeting went okay, detail exactly which parts created engagement and which parts led to confusion or disinterest. Precision in review leads to precision in future adjustments. Over time, this practice trains your mind to spot patterns more quickly, so future decisions benefit from lessons learned in the past, without needing as much conscious effort. As you repeat the decide, act, review, adjust cycle across weeks and months, something remarkable begins to happen. Your confidence grows not because every outcome is perfect, but because you trust your ability to navigate whatever arises. You stop fearing mistakes and start viewing them as temporary course corrections that prevent larger detours later. This accumulated trust becomes a quiet inner resource that supports bolder decisions in the future. Where once hesitation might have paralyzed you, now a steady assurance emerges. You know that even if the first version of a choice needs refinement, you possess the process to improve it steadily until it delivers the desired results. The loop also cultivates patience and persistence, 2 qualities essential for anyone seeking meaningful change. Quick wins are wonderful when they occur, but most worthwhile achievements require sustained effort across time. The refining process honors this reality by breaking the journey into manageable segments. Each small adjustment keeps motivation alive because you can see tangible progress rather than facing a distant, unchanging goal that never seems to move closer. You learn to celebrate both the successes that confirm your direction and the insights that allow you to course correct. This balanced view prevents burnout and sustains long-term commitment. In relationships, the power of refining decisions through feedback becomes especially evident. Suppose you decide to become more present and attentive with family members. After a week of intentional effort, you review and realize that while you initiated more conversations, you sometimes still allowed distractions from devices to interrupt meaningful exchanges. The adjustment might involve creating a simple agreement to keep certain times device-free or practicing a brief centering breath before engaging in dialogue. Each refined iteration deepens connection and demonstrates through actions rather than words that the relationship matters enough to warrant ongoing improvement. Ultimately, mastering the art of refining decisions through feedback and adaptation means embracing the truth that growth is an ongoing conversation between intention and reality. No single choice needs to carry the burden of being perfect forever. Instead, each decision serves as a living experiment that you get to observe, learn from, and improve upon. This approach liberates you from the pressure of needing to know everything in advance and replaces it with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can adapt intelligently as you go. As you close this chapter and return to your own life, carry forward the simple yet powerful practice. After every decision you make today or in the coming days, remember to pause and ask, what worked? What did not? What will I do differently next time? Then make the next refined choice with greater clarity and courage. In doing so, you transform the ordinary act of deciding into a masterful, evolving skill that compounds over time. The path ahead becomes clearer, not because every step is flawless from the beginning, but because you remain willing to learn and adjust with each one. This is how one person, through one decision after another, builds a life of purpose, influence, and enduring results. The power lies not in never needing to change course, but in having the wisdom and flexibility to refine the course until it carries you exactly where you are meant to go.